In the First Berserker Khazan, the titular Khazan can use 3 different weapons. The agile dual-wielding, a sword and an axe. No, you don't get to pick 2 swords, 2 axes. 1 sword, 1 axe. You take what you get. Then there's the Greatsword, which screams Berserker, or maybe just Berserk. And last but certainly not least, you have the Spear. So currently I'm about a third of the way through the game. I've spent some time with each weapon for a bit to get a feel for them, tried out some various skills, but most of my time is on the Spear. So I'm going to be talking about each weapon, a few things that I've observed playing them, especially focusing on the strengths, though in some cases the weaknesses as well. But with that said, it's pretty darn easy to respec in terms of your skills. You can respec them completely for free from the skills menu at any time. In terms of your stats, it's a little bit harder because you need a primeval regression orb. You'll get a couple of them to drop. You can also buy more from the bard, costs like 10,000 gold, not too big of a deal. I'm not sure if you get enough to respec every single mission, but you certainly get more than enough to play around with the different weapons and optimize the stats to find something you enjoy. And as a note, I know a lot of people are going to be watching this video before playing the game, so I'm going to be avoiding any sort of major spoilers in terms of dedicated strategies on how you kill a specific boss, but of course it's inevitable that I'm showing my gameplay, including against some of the bosses, talking about, hey, this skill seems to be very effective, this is how you use it, stuff that adds context to why you would choose one weapon over another. So, that said, let's get into it, starting with Dual Wield, a weapon that is lightning fast and can easily chain between the light attacks and the potent blows. Think light and heavy attacks if you've ever played a Souls-like. Now, in comparison to both the Greatsword and Spear, the range is a bit shorter, but it makes up for this by easily adding mobility onto a lot of attacks as you invest into the various skill trees. So personally, I found this weapon to be pretty easy to use. Due to its speed, it's not that hard to fit your attacks into the windows between boss moves. You know, a boss will attack you, it'll be beating on you, and then it stops attacking for a bit, or you guard and deflect its attack, and you get a chance to hit it. In addition to this, you can also invest into the Gale tree to turn your charged potent blow, so the charged heavy attack, into a massive nuke that repeatedly deals heavy damage to enemies and is very likely to stance break them. Due to the weapon speed, I found you could use this on bosses, but more likely you're going to use it to completely annihilate regular foes. And also, because this is a fast weapon, the uncharged potent blows are quite effective as well. Now personally, I think the dual wielding tree has some of the flashiest active skills. You're often attacking in a wide arcing circle, there's all sorts of extra particle effects flowing off of your weapons. It's really fun, you're charging across the screen. Like, here's an example, Flash Cutter, a skill where you hunch down and you charge up a linear strike before rushing through enemies across the screen. I don't think Flash Cutter is the most effective skill, but it is certainly one of the flashiest. It looks sick as hell. And also it annihilates regular enemies, but on bosses they're probably going to be smacking you in the face before you can fully charge it. And quite a few of the active skills for dual wielding incorporate some sort of dash, charge, teleport, or other form of gap closer. This makes it very easy to make up for the weapon's limited range and stick to targets when you need to. So, if you just like attacking a lot and unleashing a flurry of blows, without having to think too much about what you're doing, I recommend the dual wielding playstyle. In terms of attributes to scale it, you'll want willpower and strength. Now the Greatsword, on the other hand, is the polar opposite. It's clunky, and it's heavy, and it's slow. But oh boy, does it hit hard, and it excels at staggering enemies and interrupting their attacks. Personally, I found it to be pretty difficult to use on bosses, because the attack is so slow that sometimes it is slower than the opportunity you have to attack a boss. Meaning you're going to start your attack, the boss is going to start its attack, and you're both going to hit at the same time, which is kind of bad because the boss has way more health than you do. But at the same time, the moveset is very rewarding to use against both smaller enemies and bosses. With smaller enemies, you can easily overwhelm them and shatter their defenses, cutting them down before they're ever able to hit you once. Just be careful for anything that's an elite or a boss, because if you don't know their attack pattern, it can be a struggle to find those openings. So, play defensively, focus on your blocks especially, there's not too much value in dodging on a greatsword, and learn the enemy's pattern. Luckily, the Greatsword skill tree allows you a lot of opportunities to enhance the base moveset, such as charging, well, pretty much everything. Charging adds more AoE, which is good because this weapon has some of the best AoE. I'd say the Spear also a very good AoE, but certainly a lot more than dual wielding. In addition to this, you also get extra defenses. One of the unique features of the Greatsword is the Ghost Arm Block, which allows you to guard while charging a potent blow. So remember how I said sometimes the boss's attack happens faster than you can use a heavy attack on a greatsword because it's so slow. Yeah, turns out the devs thought of that, and instead of just telling greatsword players get good, they're like, no, get good, block the boss, and then finish charging your attack and then bash him in the face. Also, if you are good at brink guards, the greatsword has some awesome counterattack moves. So you block and then you retaliate, and you block and you retaliate, and you can do a ton of damage and easily eat through an enemy's stamina bar. Because a lot of the active skills have a very wide reach, some of them even incorporate a charge or jump, though it's less common than with dual wielding, it's very easy to reach distant foes, and it's very easy to take on groups of enemies. If you like hitting hard, and you don't mind thinking a little bit about your fighting style, then I can certainly recommend the greatsword. Make sure to stack a ton of strength, and then after that grab some proficiency. The spear has a long range, and it is capable of delivering both slashing and thrusting attacks. I found this to be a very well-balanced weapon that provides a lot of options for both offense and defense. Now, like with the dual blades, it's pretty easy to use the light attacks as they can be woven in between boss moves. And, with the right skills, specifically the Moonlight Stance line, you can even weave charged potent blows between boss moves. The timing is very tight here, you will very often get hit if you're not executing it perfectly, but it is super rewarding because you can bash the boss in the face with that charged potent blow and interrupt their next skill. And sure, it's a bit high risk, but oh my god, is it so rewarding when you pull it off. Out of all the weapons, this is the one that meshed the best with me personally. And for me, the standout feature here is the Moonlight Stance, which causes Khazan's outline to flicker a little bit, and these sort of phantom-like apparitions appear striking nearby enemies. Not only do they deal additional damage, but they empower a lot of Khazan's moves. They empower his light attacks to deal more damage, they empower his potent blows to charge faster and deliver an arcing slash instead of a thrust, and they can even empower the brutal attack if you invest into it in the skill tree. Now, in addition to this, the spear's active skills are also very well-rounded. For example, Shadow Strike, where Khazan crouches down a little bit and then unleashes a series of slashes with his spear. As a baseline, this is a good AoE move. If you continue to invest in it by taking Shadow Strike relics, all of a sudden you can nullify enemy attacks and position yourself behind an enemy. Now, I did find with bosses they very quickly retarget, so you will avoid one attack, you'll position behind, which might let you exploit a weak point, but the boss is probably going to connect with its next blow. It's not just going to fly off harmlessly or miss. You need to be ready to react to that, such as by dodging. Or using Heat Wave, which is a counterattack, where Khazan spins his spear, deflecting attacks and dealing damage. And this has carried me on so many fights. If I encounter a tough elite enemy, Heat Wave. Just deflect a bunch of those blows and do a ton of damage. Because this does so much damage, especially if you're fully invested into the tree, and because you can spend additional spirit to extend the duration of the attacks, it is hyper effective. On bosses, same thing. If a boss is using a flurry of attacks, I'm just going to put up Heat Wave, spin my staff for a few seconds, and watch the boss basically nuke its own health bar. This is so fun and satisfying to pull off. The main reason I got so good at this is because I was really struggling with a Viper fight, one of the toughest bosses in the early game, and I learned to get good by, of course, abusing Heat Wave and using it to kill the boss. In addition to this, your light attacks, especially with Moonlight Stance, chain together really, really well. You can kind of go light, activate Moonlight Stance, wait for the boss to do an attack round, guard or brink guard against it, unleash a charge heavy. It is so fun, all the attacks flow together, and you know what? I haven't even explored everything the spear has to offer. You can also use combo moves, most of which I haven't done because, so far, I'm not that good at executing them. There's a variety of other active skills that I simply haven't had the points to invest into. And so there's a lot of potential here. I think all three weapons in First Berserker Khazan are good, it's just that the spear is the one that resonated with me. And if you are going to main spear, be sure to stack proficiency, then add some willpower. And so I'm going to take a quick minute to show you my build, talk about some skills, and go into the reasons why I'm using them. So first up, Moonlight modifies the third attack in your swift attack sequence, turning it into a slash, adding a little bit of AoE, and also enabling Moonlight Stance, where if you strike an enemy with Moonlight, it activates Moonlight Stance, granting an additional afterimage style attack, both things that I talked about earlier, the little phantoms. Now, this gets really, really fun because you can go into full moon. You can charge it. You can just put 1 point into this. The problem with that is if you do, the Moonlight Stance ends as soon as you use the charge version. So charge Potent Blow, Moonlight Stance, it charges much faster, deals more damage in a big AoE, but it ends your stance. Further points prevent it from ending the stance by lowering the duration it subtracts. And Crimson Strike, which is really, really fun, because now If you're using your brutal attack against an exhausted enemy while in Moonlight stance, you have his cool red spear effect. Does extra damage, also looks awesome. In Potent Blow, I have not been using that many Potent Blows outside of a Full Moon combo, so of course, Shadow Cleave for the times where I'm just beating on normal enemies, and Fighting Spirit for increased spirit gained from attacks. I have not invested into most of the other things. I do want to try Afterimage Thrust soon though, because it looks quite effective. Then over here in Chain, haven't taken very much yet. I'm sure I'll try it at some point, just haven't experimented too much with this tree. But I do have Chase or Devour, so gradually recover one Spirit Charge every time an enemy is exhausted. It's pretty easy to exhaust if you're constantly weaving light and heavy attacks. Under the Shrewd tree, this is where a lot of my fun skills come in, like Crescent Strike, which is really good if you can bonk an enemy on the head, which is quite often their weak point. And then Shadow Strike. The base Shadow Strike, big old AoE slash. The fun version, though, is the Shadow Strike Relics. Now, I don't have a final point in the tree yet. Stuck at Relics just because I haven't leveled up enough, but oh man, looks pretty sweet, and being able to nullify one attack is really, really fun. Then defensively, Breakdown, deal increased stamina damage when enemies are affected by Brink Guard, so if you are good at guarding, this makes it even easier to stagger bosses, really, really effective. Endurance decreases the stamina cost. If you are Brink Guarding, you don't need this. I'm not good enough to constantly Brink Guard, so I take it. Of course, Rod Smite gives you a swift little counterattack after a Brink Guard. I find this is kind of hard to pull off on bosses, but against normal enemies, it's pretty effective. And then Phantom Heatwave. Phantom Heatwave is such an awesome skill. Again, it has carried me on some of the game's hardest bosses, but it is super, super worth it for the counterattack effect, especially when an enemy unleashes a large number of blows. And then the Phantom Whirlwind, again, it allows you to keep spinning and continue the effect. And so yeah, those are my skills. In terms of my stats, I'm building heavily into proficiency, a little bit of vitality, because I want it to be tanky enough to survive, a little bit of endurance, get a little bit more stamina. Now I'm building some willpower to balance my stats out. I'm probably going to go willpower to like 20. Not sure for actually soft caps that I need to worry about. Then under gear, this is just the best spear I happen to have picked up. I'm currently wearing the Butcher set and the Hunter set. No particular reason beyond this happened to be the best thing that I picked up, and for a while I was fighting a bunch of Dragonkin. And so those are my thoughts on the different weapons and why spear is super awesome. Yes, I know. Greatsword's also good, as is dual wielding. If you enjoy those playstyles, go for it. As I said, I've tried all the different weapons. They all feel perfectly viable. Personally, I struggled with the Greatsword, but I also looked over on Reddit. Lots of people were having success with it, saying it was awesome. So I suspect whatever meshes with you, it's going to work totally fine. But the spear is a weapon that I fell in love with, so that's what I talked about the most in this video, and that's what I'm going to be using. At least for now. That said, if you want to see more of my thoughts on First Berserker Khazan, maybe what my endgame spear build ends up looking like, then do be sure to get subscribed and leave a like while you're down there. For now, if you've tried the game, and you want to give some of your thoughts on any of the weapons, maybe help some other people out who could be interested, please do comment below. And if you're looking for something else to watch, maybe my thoughts on another game, I'll link a couple other videos up in the card and down below. For now, thank you very much for watching to the end. I'm glad you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.